Have you ever been on the brink of a crucial moment? Maybe signing a high-stakes contract, nailing a business pitch, or taking on a personal challenge, where everything depends on a single choice. That's exactly where I found myself not too long ago. I was about to launch a new project that could change the trajectory of my career. My nerves were through the roof, but I knew I needed a reliable method to guide me. That's when I turned to something called the OODA Loop. At first glance, OODA might look like just another acronym, but believe me, it has transformed how I approach each critical step in my life. I've woven it into my routine, so whether I'm facing tight deadlines or complex personal dilemmas, I have a blueprint. Today, I'm letting you into my process, how I make decisions using the OODA Loop, and how you can adapt it for your own life. Before I discovered this framework, my decision-making was often fueled by stress and second-guessing. I'd gather bits of information, but I never had a structured approach. Then I came across the OODA Loop, which stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. It was originally developed to help people make better, faster decisions under pressure. The beauty is how simple it is. 4 steps that cycle continuously, so you're always refining your approach. Let me break down how I weave these steps into my day-to-day life. 1. Observe. For me, this starts the moment I realize I'm facing a big choice, like that new project I was about to launch. I gather information from every possible angle. I look at market trends, talk to my team, gauge my own emotional state, and check the potential impact on my long-term goals. Essentially, I open my eyes wide and take everything in. What's going on in the environment that directly affects my project? What's happening that might only indirectly affect me, but could matter later? Am I holding any assumptions that might be incorrect? These questions help me see the bigger picture. I found curiosity is the key, constantly challenging myself to look deeper, rather than operating on autopilot. 2. Orient. This is where I interpret what I've observed. Let's say, during my project research, I discovered a competing product that's already well established. Does that mean I should pivot or stay the course? How do I incorporate this new data? Here's where I have to acknowledge my own biases. Maybe I'm overly attached to my original idea. Or maybe the competitor's existence is less of a threat than I imagine. Orientation forces me to step outside my personal bubble. I compare my assumptions with reality, talk to advisors who see things from different perspectives, and realign my plan if needed. It's a constant process of recentering myself, so I don't let fear, excitement, or pride cloud my judgment. At this point, you might think, that's a lot of analysis. Where's the real action? Don't worry. What's coming next is where the OODA Loop really comes alive. If you can get your orientation right, the next phase becomes a lot clearer. And once you see how all 4 steps connect, you'll understand why this method has become my secret weapon in making tough calls. 3. Decide. Here's the crossroads. After observing all relevant info and orienting myself properly, I have to make a choice. For my project launch, it came down to whether I'd enter the market right away or delay to incorporate a new feature. Neither option was guaranteed to succeed, so I weighed the data and listened to that little voice inside me, my gut feeling. I used to hate this stage because I'd stress over picking the wrong path. But I've learned that it's about making the most informed choice possible in that moment. If you've observed and oriented thoroughly, this step is more of a natural progression than a random leap. You realize every decision carries risk, so the goal is to minimize the blind spots. 4. Act. The final step is to follow through. I opted to go forward with the original launch date, focusing on my project's unique strengths rather than overhauling the plan at the last second. It was nerve-wracking, but once I decided, I committed fully. No half measures. This is critical because a half-executed decision can fail simply from lack of conviction. The moment I acted, I started noticing new feedback. Clients gave me immediate reactions. My team's morale shifted. Competitors' moves became more relevant. That's the loop in motion. My action created new data, which fed back into the first stage, observe, for my next round of decisions. The OODA Loop isn't just a one-and-done checklist. It's a cycle, meaning you're constantly refining. By the time I launched, I was ready to dive back into observe again, collecting feedback and adjusting on the fly. That's how you keep momentum alive. Each decision leads to new information, which shapes the next choice. If all this sounds like a structured system, that's because it is. But it's also flexible. How I handle these steps now might look different 6 months from today, especially if my priorities shift or if I learn something that changes my outlook. That's the beauty of a loop. It adapts alongside you. Let's take a step back and apply this logic more broadly. While my biggest current example might be launching a project, you could apply these principles anywhere. Want to build a new habit? Start by observing your daily routine. Orient yourself by spotting obstacles or triggers. Decide on the best approach. Then act on it. Next morning, observe again whether your new habit stuck. Adjust if needed. It's the same structure, just a different context. Here's a quick recap of how to make decisions using the OODA Loop. 1. Observe. Gather as much information as possible from the environment and resources around you, like job requirements, market conditions, or personal factors. 2. Orient. Position yourself to interpret this data, noting how biases or perspectives might shape your understanding. 3. Decide. Determine a course of action, whether it's focusing on gaining support from a particular colleague, applying for a role, or pivoting your project approach. This step is about clarity. 4. Act. Implement the decision and follow through. Then circle back to observe to see the results. I won't pretend every decision I've made has been perfect. Sometimes I realize after acting that I missed a detail or let my emotions cloud my perspective. But because this method loops, I can reevaluate instantly. Each new cycle is an opportunity to refine my approach. One of the most transformative parts of this framework is recognizing that mistakes aren't deal breakers. They're just new data. If something flops, that's your cue to go back to observing, orienting, deciding, and acting again. Instead of beating yourself up, you view each misstep as a stepping stone toward a better outcome next time around. In the past, I might have been paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong call. Now, I see decisions as snapshots in time. I make the best choice possible with the information I have, then move on. It's liberating, and it's an ongoing process, not an endpoint. I don't think we ever graduate from needing to observe, orient, decide, and act. Each day brings fresh challenges and surprising insights. Let's face it, not every life challenge is as dramatic as a high-stakes project launch. Still, the principle remains. Whether I'm deciding which skill to learn next or whether to take on a new client, I rely on this cycle. It stops me from rushing in blindly or letting confusion stall my progress. Instead, I have a step-by-step strategy that keeps me grounded and nimble at the same time. So that's how I approach decisions these days. If you ever feel swamped by choices, I recommend trying this loop yourself. Start small. Pick an area where you face routine decisions. Diet, exercise, budgeting, scheduling, and walk through these 4 stages. See how the loop feels. If you find yourself analyzing things too deeply, it's a sign you might need more practice trusting your gut during the decide phase. If you act impulsively, maybe you need to go back and observe more thoroughly. The key is to keep cycling through, learning every time. If you can do that, you'll develop not just a better decision-making process, but also more self-awareness and resilience. Over time, you'll see improvements in how confidently you tackle projects, relate to others, and handle the unexpected. I found that strong decisions don't come from luck. They spring from an intentional, repeatable process. The OODA Loop provides that clarity without confining me to a rigid formula. It grows with me, shifting as my life evolves. And that's exactly why it's my go-to system for tackling life's big and small choices alike. The next time you face a fork in the road, remember, observe what's happening. Orient yourself to the facts and your own mindset. Decide on the best path forward and then act with confidence. Once you're done, the cycle starts anew, ready to guide you through the next challenge. It's a never-ending loop, and that's what makes it so powerful. If you want a concise summary of everything I've just covered, I've created a 2-page PDF summary of this video. Click the link below and I'll send you a handy breakdown of the OODA Loop with quick tips to put it into practice right away. It's free and it's my way of helping you solidify what you've learned so you can start making better decisions today.